This is our Viva. It is the 21st of April. This week, we looked at videos of other people's interpretations of attempts on her life with Gavin. We also made up choreography with Ellie for scene 2. We developed our scenes that we were given last week by Leanne, and we started new scenes as well.
So what good ideas did we come up with this week?
So we looked at scene 9, and we decided it was more like a courtroom, lawyery sort of thing. So we decided to, some of us, me, Kat and Isulsha, worked on that together, and we decided we were going to be like lawyers, but instead of having 3 different lawyers, we created one lawyer within the 3 of us. So we used the shawl activity from Complicite to make sure all of our movements were the same thing. We did all the same expressions, so that we looked like one, but we all have our different emotions and different points of views when it came to the different sections within it.
I think a good idea we came up with this week is we did a trio in Ellie's lesson, which was based around the text from scene 2. And basically the initial text that we got given was about a relationship that's to do with love and lust, but then turns toxic and becomes very abusive. So the format we went with was, because there was 3 of us, I had the idea of me and Fran being either the lover and the mistress, or the split personality of the woman. So in the relationship, it's a side of the loving and lusting, and the hatred and abuse. And we did our sequence twice through to show the comparison between the change in the relationship.
Some ideas that we had this week. With the scene that me and Katie were given called The Statement, I finally got to do the idea of an investigation scene. So we read through it and basically decided that it was going to be an investigation, and that Katie would be the person in power and investigating what's going on through some confusing scene that we don't really understand, so we need to look at more. And yeah, we linked in the movement that we did, our trio, we Anna linked most of the movement to the text, so it has a reason for being in the scene.
What ideas didn't work? Well, for that trio, I feel like we had a very strong piece, but I felt like it was taking away from the initial concept of that scene, because you had your investigators already doing hand movement. I felt like it was too much movement on stage, and instead of supporting it, it was taking away from it. It was too distracting. So we either need to find moments where they could we can pause or they can pause, so that it's not chaotic.
And in the lawyer scene again, we had these ideas of, so we had the idea of being as one, as when we looked through the text, we wanted to have a split of one's like the prosecutor, one's the other, but there's such a vary within the text of support and against, that it didn't fit properly with how we wanted to do it. So that's why we became one. But then it's getting us all to work together was a lot harder than it seemed to just walk around in a space as one, because not everyone, they've changed their paces, they'd change their movements, and you're trying to keep up, and then it loses the effect of it a little bit.
What was it?
What didn't work?
Well, like Anna said, when we were working on scene 2, because there was so much movement, it took away from some of the text being said. And in this play, you really need to listen to what's going on to even understand a single part of what is going on, because it's so confusing. I think some groups linked with the movement, but some didn't, and then it sort of just went a bit off track. So yeah.
What research have you done to support and develop your ideas? Well, I looked into lawyers for the lawyer scene, and also court cases. So I looked at a documentary about the trial on murder in the family on BBC Channel 4. And that was to give me an idea of how potentially the lawyers should compose themselves, as well as the jury, which I was in. It gave me a sense of like how they like minimally like look and like their hand movements and how we can incorporate naturalistic gestures, because the gestures we have are very exaggerated. So I wanted to have moments where we stripped it right back. So that's what I looked at.
Yeah, I obviously looked at lawyers as well, but I looked at courtrooms, but like how they were set up. So where you'd all be standing, where the jury would be placed within it. Where so I kind of know when we start making our movement, what kind of how the spacing should be, how it should be set up, so we know where we're going. And also when I looked at the lawyers, I looked at what makes this, the traits that make a good lawyer, as in a lawyer actually in the court. So then when I'm trying to put that into my character, I know what they need to succeed, so I can start thinking, okay, well, how can I put this in to become the lawyer instead of just showing one on stage?
Most of the research I've been doing is mostly like looking at different investigation scenes from different films and TV shows like Usual Suspects and CSI. It's mostly just plain and like straight to the point with like the way it's set out. So it's one person talking to another person with a table and two chairs, so it's quite easy to set out. It's just how you portray each character and how it's set.